Hello, my name's Michael Conneely, and this video is part 2 of my June 2020 Astrology and Healing newsletter, and it's about Rahu, the north node of the moon, entering Mrigashira Nakshatra. I always find the nakshatras give brilliant and super powerful illumination and understanding as to the energies we'll be experiencing. They are profound. They're of course the 27 sign lunar zodiac of Vedic astrology. And Rahu, the north node of the moon, entered Mrigashira Nakshatra on the 20th of May. Until that date, Rahu had been transiting through Ardra Nakshatra. And I felt the difference because Ardra Nakshatra is ruled by Rahu and Mrigashira is ruled by Mars. And Rahu, always retrograde, entered at the back end of Mrigashira. And immediately from the 20th of May, I felt the rise in the Mars presence, for good or ill. And of course, the Mrigashira spans the Vedic signs of Taurus and Gemini. So in the last two padas of Mrigashira, every nakshatra has 4 padas or quarters. Rahu entered the final one, pada 4, which is of course in the sign of Gemini. So the point is, I did definitely witness such a lot more sharpness in speech and arguing, both for individuals and in national affairs. Rahu enters Mrigashira, and there's an immediate, from the 20th of May, an immediate increase in the Mars presence, but still within Gemini. And I certainly felt this. I want to mention briefly Ardra Nakshatra, which Rahu, North Node, left on the 20th of May. And Rahu Nakshatra is of course associated with disasters and desolation. Ardra is ruled by Rahu, and indeed Rahu's transit in Ardra was the prime energy creator for the coronavirus pandemic. So the point is that now Rahu has left Ardra Nakshatra, the energy for the coronavirus is over, the creative impetus, but of course there's still the aftermath, the vast end phase, the huge end phase in social management of the dampening down of the disease, and the vast social effects, the change of consciousness that it's offered us, and the change in social consciousness and social arrangements that the Rahu in Ardra created coronavirus will bring in. But now we have a new energy with Rahu North Node entering Mrigashira Nakshatra. And of course it's Rahu that is activating Mrigashira energies. So we need to be aware that when Rahu transits into a new sign or a new house or a new nakshatra and a new nakshatra pada, something is triggered by the ambitious driven Rahu North Node energy. And it can be, it always is, a sense of weakness that we're suddenly aware of. And indeed it's our sense of our weakness that activates the driven nature of Rahu. Rahu is the direction of our incarnational life path in this life. The forward thrust of our destiny path in this life. Ketu is where we come in from past life. So Rahu has to be driven to get us across our chart, to get us to the destination karmically indicated in this life. But the point is, we have to purify Rahu. We cannot simply be driven. Rahu can be a great strength, depending on what sign and house it's in, but only if we learn to understand Rahu and his implications. So now we have Rahu entering Mrigashira Nakshatra. And in fact, because Rahu always goes retrograde, he's coming at the end of Mrigashira. He's entered Mrigashira Pada 4. Now the thing to realise is that, and this is very important, that Mrigashira Pada 4 is the Scorpio Pada of Mrigashira. It's quite a different energy from Padas 1, 2 or 3. Each Pada, of course, in a nakshatra has quite a different energy, but I feel the Scorpio Pada of Mrigashira has a very different energy. You see, the overall energy of Mrigashira is, at its best, spiritual and searching. But of course, there can be an endless questing and a great problem about commitment with Mrigashira. But this Scorpio Pada has all the sting of Scorpio, and Rahu will activate that. So doubling the Gemini rulership energy of Mrigashira, and yeah, I think doubling the energy, the driven energy of Rahu. But Mrigashira's ruling deity, and the wonderful thing about nakshatras is they have a ruling planet and a ruling god. And the ruling deity of Mrigashira is Soma, the divine energy of the moon. And the other big thing to remember about the nakshatras is they are supreme carriers of star energy. The energy of each nakshatra is made up of the stars within that portion of the zodiac, within the span of the nakshatra, or what we're looking at now, within the span of the pada. And so it's so important to look up the stars that are activating your natal planet, when, you know, each of our planets obviously has a placement in a nakshatra and in a nakshatra pada within that. So what stars are conjunct that planet? That alters things quite a lot. But the positive and very special feature of the Scorpio pada of Mrigashira is that it's very inspirational. So I would certainly suggest that from the 20th of May to the 22nd of July, while Rahu is transiting Pada 4 of Mrigashira, be open to sudden inspirations coming in out of the box. It's happened to me already. It happened in the first few days of Rahu's entry into Mrigashira. And of course I would absolutely say that you do need to use the sidereal zodiac of Vedic astrology, otherwise the nakshatra boundaries are wrong, the Gandanta zones are lost, and the stars are in inappropriate signs for the nature of the stars. All that comes true if you use the sidereal zodiac for Vedic astrology, but of course you do need to use the tropical zodiac for psychodynamic Western astrology and for statements of our egoic self. But subject to that definition of Mrigashira Pada 4, yes, I felt tremendous inspirations just coming from nowhere. One of them, I just suddenly decided, almost on the spur of a moment, to start a keto diet, partly to reduce weight, but also to control diabetes. And certainly what's said about the particular keto diet I have, there are a lot of bad ones, is that it fast reduces excess weight and very fast brings down excess blood sugar. And I have type 2 diabetes. And just in the spur of a moment, I never thought I would make this decision. I went on the diet just after Rahu had entered Mrigashira Pada 4. I also had quite a few inspirations in my work. Okay, so basically the profound nature of Mrigashira is spiritual and searching, and Mrigashira Shakti, or energy gift, is fulfillment. So why not make a wish now? Why not go on a course to attract more income, for example, if that's an issue? Why not make a decision to bring in help on a certain, work area of your life, anything like that? But as I said, Mrigashira is ruled by Mars. Now, Vedic astrology has a supreme definition of the divine nature of each planet. But in fact, we don't see the divine nature of the planet. We see the divine nature through filters of sign, house, aspect, and the nakshatra the planet is in. And so, although the divine nature of Mars is the spiritual warrior, doing the right things to energetically defend the kingdom and support the sun, the king of the kingdom, and ethically, energetically succeed in our tasks, obviously, as we all know, there's a very negative side of Mars that is torturous and violent. And as I've said, these two padas are in the sign, the last two padas are in the sign of Gemini, so it can lead to violent speech. So we need to be aware when a new planet energy sort of comes at us, and Mars can quite smash at us, that's going on. The negative side of Mars is increasing, and I'm experiencing that. And so we bring that awareness to push aside a dysfunctional response to a new planet energy coming in. We foster in us the positive mundane manifestations of the planet's energy. And above all, we keep trying to bring to our awareness and our vision the divine energy of the planet. And certainly, if you want a quite brief, easy to access section on the divine nature of planets, David Frawley's book, The Astrology of the Seers, has a very good bit on that. Yes, and the other thing I'd like to mention, you see, Mars rules Mrigashira, but if you have planets in the two other Mars rules nakshatras, you will feel the Rahu activation of the Mars energy of Mrigashira when it happens. So for example, I have Sun in Chitra, and immediately I just felt this increase in Mars energy. And the other Mars-ruled nakshatra is Dhanishta, of course. So Dhanishtas might well extra specially feel the Mars activation coming from Mars-ruled Mrigashira. So, just to reinforce the fact that Rahu is still transiting Vedic Gemini, and Rahu doesn't enter Vedic Taurus until the 23rd of September. So I believe that the sort of Gemini communication will have like a Mars thrust into it. People could start talking too much, talking too fast, talking violently, over-talking, while Rahu completes its transit through Gemini under the Mars activation from Mrigashira. So, looking to the future, we've talked quite a lot about the wonders and dangers of Rahu entering Mrigashira Pada 4. But Rahu leaves that fourth Scorpio Pada of Mrigashira on the 22nd of July and enters the third Pada, which is Libra. And so, of course, the energy changes quite dramatically. Libra is relationship orientated and it's ruled by Venus. And Venus is still transiting Taurus at this time. Indeed, Venus is strong there because Venus rules Taurus. And another bonus is that on this very same day, Mercury enters Libra, which is nice and auspicious and nice for communication. So I would say that when Rahu enters the Libra Pada of Mrigashira, Mrigashira Pada 3 on the 22nd of July, there will be quite a different Libran Venusian energy thrust. Rahu leaves the third Pada on the 23rd of September, and then he enters the second Pada, which is ruled by Virgo. Virgo is obviously ruled by Mercury. So we will have a new tinge to the Rahu thrust, and that will be in the areas of mentalism, communication and skills, and quite possibly a healing dimension if there are other indications for that. And finally, Rahu leaves Mrigashira Pada 2 on the 25th of November, entering Mrigashira's first Pada, which is Leo, ruled by the Sun. So we have an ambitious, assertive Rahu Sun energy coming at us from Rahu's transit through Mrigashira from the 25th of November 2020 to the 27th of January 2021. Now, I was wondering, well, what happened to me when Rahu last transited Mrigashira? What happened to you? Well, the dates of that last transit were from the 14th of October 2001 to the 21st of June 2002. And I do feel I can see in the events, obviously the presence of many planetary influences, but a big Rahu in Mrigashira presence in the events of my life then. So I just noticed that in the next month, in 3 weeks from when Rahu entered Mrigashira, in November 2001, I received Amma's darshan, Amma the hugging guru, and that meant a lot to me. And it's nice to have my mind brought back to that now as I'm speaking to you on this video. And talking of the inspiration dimensions and spiritual search dimensions of Mrigashira, well, the truth is I started writing Mapping Ecstasy and Compassion. So this was a report essentially on a 5-year field study I was doing on spiritual forms new to the modern West: Hinduism, Buddhism, paganism, shamanism and utopian community, where the study method was ethnography, living in the communities you study, giving the individuals in those communities their voice. But within that, I was working in an esoteric dimension of geography, which is the sense that we construct ourselves and our sense of ourself partly using the landscape we live on and work on, so that can very much affect the person you see yourself to be. And the point is, you don't just take into account the physical nature of the landscape you take in, you take on the imaginal dimensions that you put on the landscape. So I suppose if you were a soldier in a medieval fort, the martial nature of the fort building would help you construct your soldier identity. If you're like a business tycoon, the wow massive skyscraper inner city landscapes of the USA would boost the business ambition. But what I actually studied by contrast was the construction onto the Glastonbury landscape of a place of pilgrimage. In other words, the marginal constructions placed on Glastonbury and Glastonbury Tor as a place of pilgrimage, which dates right back to Anglo-Saxon times, and indeed probably beyond. And people visiting Glastonbury draw, yes, on the landscape rock energies and so forth, and rock energies are everywhere, and they're very high here in the northwest of Ireland, supremely high, but also on the marginal meaning of the